Have you ever wandered lonely through the woods, and everything that feels just as it should? You're part of a life there, you're part of something good. If you've ever wandered lonely through the woods. Ooh, if you've ever wandered lonely through the woods. Have you ever stared into
Why did you decide to do the Pacific Northwest Trail?
Because I love to hike. Ever since I moved to Colorado, I've been hiking a lot. And I wanted to challenge myself.
Why that one though?
Because I've never been to that part of the country is the main reason. I just wanted to, go and explore a different part of the country that I've never been before. And also because it was the distance that I was looking for, like the amount of time like that I wanted to take off. It was 1,200 miles. Like some of the other trails are like the PCT, like there's the big three, they call it, they call like the people who have done the big three triple crowners. The big three are the north, south, all the way through the country. That's the PCT in California on the Pacific Crest Trail, and then there's the Continental Divide Trail that starts from Mexico, heads up the Continental Divide all the way up the country to Canada, and then there's the Appalachian Trail, obviously on the East Coast. And those are the big three. All of those are like 2,600 miles roughly, which would take, a lot longer. The one I did was 1,200. So that was one reason, but mostly I'd say because I've never been to that part of the country and that I wanted to explore a new place.
What was it like to find the trailhead? Was it, to get to the trailhead?
It was a pain in the ass. So it was hard. So basically from the airport, I had to Uber, I guess, was the only way to get to Glacier. Yeah. So I Ubered from the airport, and then I took a shuttle to the eastern part of Glacier. The start of the trail was on the very northeast corner of Glacier National Park. So the shuttle took me to the eastern part of Glacier, but I still had to go probably 15 miles north to get to the trailhead, and there's nothing. There's no way to get there. If you don't have a car, there's roads. So I was walking on the side of the road and trying to hitchhike to get to the trailhead to start the trip. But nobody was everyone was telling me it was easy to hitchhike in Glacier, but I guess I'm not the type of person that people like to pick up on the side of the road, because I had a lot of trouble hitchhiking the entire time.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know, but that's a good question, because I'm a guy. I had long hair and a beard, kind of which is, I don't know. But so I was with Emily for half of it, and then I hitched with her, and it took about 3 cars, and I could not get a ride for my life. This couple that were also doing the PNT, who ended up picking me up after I had probably walked 7 miles on the road. Just on the side of the road, hundreds of cars just passing me. No one picking me up. I had given up at that point for sure, because I wasn't even sticking my thumb out anymore, because I was just frustrated. But Ryan and Allison were also doing the PNT, and they just stopped and asked if I needed a ride, and I was like, yes. And they told me they happened to also be doing the PNT, which was perfect because they were obviously going to the same trailhead. So they took me all the way there. So my first day, I had scheduled 13.3 miles to my permit campsite was 13.3 miles from the trailhead. So I tacked on 7 just road walking just to try to get to the trailhead. So my first day was 21 point something miles. And I wasn't really in shape yet to do that. So I threw up after the end of my first day.
Did you?
Yeah.
So did you walk with them?
Yeah, when I applied to for my permits for Glacier, they put me in an extra day than I wanted. Like I didn't get some of the campsites that I wanted, and they ended up like cutting down my mileage per day, and they like made me hike an extra day in Glacier. I wanted to hike 4 days there, and they made me hike 5. So Ryan and Allison let me stay on their campsite, so that way I could get through in 4 with them.
Yeah.
So that was really nice.
If you've ever wandered lonely through the woods, have you ever stared into a starry sky?
Kind of met up with them, you know, in trail towns also. Hung out with them for a few times. So Glacier, I was mostly hiking by myself, which I actually preferred, I think, because Glacier was really easy hiking, just not physically, but like the fact how gorgeous it was literally the entire way, like made it like good hiking. Yeah, I was a little worried. Like Glacier had some steep up and down hills, and my knee going down, I was feeling my knee. Like my knee was inflamed after day 2, and I was a little worried about that, but it that went away fairly quickly, and it never really came back. So that was good.
You're always in doubt, never knowing where to go. Have you ever been out walking in the snow? Not walking in the snow. Tried to get back where you were before. You're always in doubt, never knowing where to go. Have you ever been out walking in the snow?
So I finally reached the pass, or the top of the pass. That's where I came from over there. You can't really see down, the trees are blocking the way. Came from way down over there, hiked up, through this way up here, and this is kind of where I'm going. Stony Indian Pass still. Had to take another video because this spot is perfect. There's the lake that waterfall right there flows into. And it's starting to rain a little bit. Can't really see down over there as well as you could about an hour ago. But there it is.
So I met Emily in my last camp, the last campsite that I was at, and then I just kind of met her. I wasn't hiking with her right after that. I just met her on the like I just happened to meet her back on the trail the next day. So I just struck up a conversation, and we just started hiking together.
So what's Emily's story? What brought her to the hiking?
She lives in Seattle.
Yeah.
So she had just got into backpacking. She's in med school, and she was going through a rough patch in just her life, a lot of different things in her life. So she was taking a break from medical school, and just kind of got into backpacking, you know, to fill the time. Glacier ended, and then I got to the town of Polbridge, which is just nothing town. There's nothing there. Like that was a resupply. Yep, that was 50 something miles in, so 52 miles or something to get out of Glacier. This little town with just a mercantile and the hostel that I stayed at. And that's just about it.
The hostel.
The hostel was awesome. It was like this guy who he was super cool. He was a German guy.
Yeah.
And he like decked out his place to like, he had like little campers in the back that he like rented out to people, kind of like in his backyard. He also had bunks in his house that he rented to people. Yeah, it was super cool. He was really cool.
Nice. So when did Joey join you?
Joey joined me in Rexford. Rexford is only like 6 miles past Eureka.
Okay.
But so I kind of parted ways with Emily because I was me and Emily walked, those 9 miles between like 80, 90 miles between Polebridge to Eureka. And she needed a few more days to rest because her legs were really hurting her. And then I met up with Joe in Rexford, which is like 6 miles past Eureka. Met him at a bar. We had some drinks, and we met a bunch of Canadians that were like, that we were drinking with and hanging out with. And then the next day we hit the road. And it started off with like a 8 to 9 mile road walk, followed by a pretty big climb. I think it was like 4 to 5 mile like straight climb. It was pretty, physical, pretty challenging physically. And Joe, definitely physically challenging for Joe. He was struggling up the climb. I think Joe threw up on the climb. So we cut down the mileage significantly and decided to just get to Yak in the 7 days that Joe was planning on, hanging out and being with me in the trip. So we got a lot more fishing. We did a lot more fishing and hanging out and stuff. So we fished at Fish Lake, and then we fished the Yak River too. All fly fishing, which I had never done before too, and it was cool to learn. Cool to learn how to do. I didn't catch any. Joe caught a lot. Of course. Yeah.
I'm never gonna look back. Whoa, I'm never gonna give it up. No, just don't wake me now. This is gonna be the best day of my life. My life. This is gonna be the best day of my life. My life.
Right on the surface, baby. Yeah. That's fucking sick, dude. Shit, I gotta get on the reel. That was so sick. Hit it. Oh, no. That was so sick. We landed in a
You got him? Hell yeah.
Scotty. That was so fucking sick, dude. First Montana fish on the fly. Wow.
And Yak. So we actually spent 2 days in Yak, I think, which was a very interesting town. Another just like
Why?
just the people, the culture of it. There's a little road and 2 buildings. Like that's it. There's 2 bars and like this little tiny mercantile place. It was called the Dirty Shame, the bar. The Dirty Shame. They said somebody told us a story like it used to be a little church chapel or something, and they turned it into a bar, and then the pastor said that was a dirty shame, so that's what they named the bar. The Dirty Shame. So yeah, that was a story that somebody told me.
So
There was a guy actually. We camped behind the bar. Like they let us camp like in this little tiny field behind the bar, and there was a guy camped there. And we walk in there, and he's like, "Oh, you guys got your bear spray?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, of course." And he's like, "Oh, here's my bear spray," and he pulls out this like freaking Magnum like revolver gun. Just let me know if you guys see any bears, and I'll take care of them. Give me a holler. I'm like, okay, cool. Our lager, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy drink. Thy will be drunk, I will be drunk. At home as it in the tavern. Give us this day our foamy head, and forgive us our spillages as we forgive those who spill upon us. And lead us not into incarceration, but deliver us from hangovers. For thine is thy beer, the bitter and the lager, forever and ever. Barmen. So that was the beer prayer. That was in the bar in Yak, Montana.
So, what was the hardest time as you hiked?
The hardest time.
Or some, say then.
Oh, I mean, that would be Idaho.
Okay.
There's I was just going through the little sliver panhandle of Idaho. And that was from Bonners Ferry, which there's a section between Bonners Ferry and Medellin Falls was the hardest. So the first mountain that was Parker Mountain from Bonners Ferry was absolutely brutal. It was a tough climb just in and of itself, but there was a forest fire 2 years prior, and 2 days before we started hiking up, there was a big storm that blew down all the dead, burnt trees. So there were just hundreds and hundreds of trees just blown over. All the trail was just on trees, like blown over trees. So you have to like climb over these just trees with like, there's branches, like, it was really hard, like very difficult. Like very difficult, very demoralizing, like physically very difficult and mentally very demoralizing. Like, when you're putting that much physically effort, and then like making that little progress, it's just like really hard. So it took me all day to get up the mountain, which was, I don't even know how many miles it was, but like, it was very slow. I fell like 10 times. One pretty bad. Like I hit my head. Like fell like face first, like in like this, just like it was bad.
Checking in on Long Mountain Peak here. It's a pretty sweet spot, so I think it deserved a little bit of a narration. I came from Bonners Ferry way down in the distance over there in that valley. I climbed up that mountain right there, which was absolutely brutal. There was a forest fire, I think, 2 years ago now. So there was just fall down trees everywhere all over the path. I think I ate shit about 7 times. One time, pretty rough. So anyway, I traversed along this mountain all the way up, kind of down, back up this mountain here, right along that ridge line, and came down this way, all the way up to where I am here on Long Mountain Peak. And it is pretty gorgeous up here.
Wind in my hair, I feel part of everywhere. Underneath my being is a road that disappears. Late at night I hear the trees, they're singing with the dead overhead. I find a way to be. Consider me a satellite forever orbiting. I knew all the rules, but the rules did not know me. Guaranteed.
It was pretty cool, actually. Like, it was walking along this ridge line that was pretty cool, like beautiful hiking. And then the bushwhack started. This is one of several bushwhacks, but this one was the bushwhack. Like, it was 6-7 miles long.
And what's a bushwhack?
The bushwhack is where the trail ends, and there's a basic route that's mapped on the the PNT guide that you kind of take, but there's no trail, so you micro navigate just using your own just intuition or judgment based on what you think the best way to go is. So you're not following a trail, and you just get to the destination, which is basically where the trail kind of continues. So you're walking in brush, and this was very thick brush. Right when I ended my day like right before purposely, so I woke up and just started, so I'd have all day to do it, and it took me all day to do 7 miles, which relatively, like, I was doing at that time probably 18 to 20 miles a day, and it took me from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. to do 7 miles.
Reached the halfway point today, and what a roller coaster it has been. Part of me just doesn't want this to ever end. The other part just wants to get it finished right away as soon as I can. Well, this is what over 20 miles and over 7,000 feet of elevation sounds like and looks like. And they would do that right in the beginning of the longest stretch that I'll be out in the wilderness, meaning have to carry the heaviest backpack that I'm going to be able to carry the entire time I'm out here. What a day. Whew! Let's fucking go.
Fell another probably 12 times, like, during that 6-7 mile. So yeah, and a lot of screaming and swearing. Like, I remember falling and like catching myself with my hands, but like my hand like fell on like a spike sticking out of like a branch, just like, stuff like that. That's just, you're already really tired and frustrated, and stuff like that really can really set you over the edge. But yeah.
And you're still glad you did this?
Oh yeah. Yeah, those stuff is, that's memorable, but most of it was great.
Yeah.
But that was rough.
to the land of the pines. I'm thumbing my way to North Carolina, staring up the road and pray to God I see headlights. I made it down the coast in 17 hours, picking me a bouquet of dogwood flowers, and I'm hoping for Raleigh I can see my baby tonight. So rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama, any way you feel. Hey, mama, rock me. Rock me, mama, like the wind and the rain. Rock me, mama, like a southbound train.
There was another bushwhack, which is, you know, where there's no trail, near Republic, Washington, and I usually navigate just by using my paper maps, primarily, but I also have a GPS gut hook, an app on my phone that I use that will show you actually your location, so it's, you know, to make sure that you are where you think you are, at least. So when I started the bushwhack near Republic, I was using my paper maps primarily. That's what I usually do. But it was real thick brush, so my paper maps fell out of my pocket at some point without me noticing, so I lost my paper maps. So then I had to start using GutHook, my app on my phone, like exclusively apps. So then I got hit by a storm in the middle of the bushwhack, and I decided to kind of push through when I probably should have stopped and set up camp, especially because my only navigation was my phone, which obviously can get damaged in a storm. And I was putting it in my rain jacket pocket because, you know, to keep it protected from the rain. But little did I know, my rain jacket pocket, like every time I'd open it, was getting filled up with water. So I was putting my phone, my only, you know, device of navigation, into a puddle in my pocket. So my phone got water damaged and broke, so I had no navigation at this point in the middle of, you know, the woods with, you know, there's no trail either. So I'm in the middle of the woods, no trail, with no navigation. I just sent a message to my dad on the Garmin, GPS Garmin. I told him, like, I'm setting up camp for the night. I'm going to try to start again tomorrow morning, but keep an eye on me because I have no idea where I'm going.
So rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama, any way you feel. Hey, mama, rock me. Rock me, mama, like the wind and the rain. Rock me, mama, like a southbound train. Hey, mama, rock me.
Well, if you want to sing out, sing out. And if you want to be free, be free. 'Cause there's a million things to be.
Anyway, I continued on with my, you know, just using what I had in my head was the route that I was supposed to be taking. And my dad was sort of trying to help me along just by sending text messages to my GPS phone. And so going back to like what I learned, and it's frustrating going backtracking, you know. But at that point when you in the middle of the wilderness and you don't know where you are, it's like, you know, you got to tell yourself you have I had everything I needed to survive. So like I could live in the middle of the wilderness for, you know, probably a good like week. Like you tell yourself that, like, to not like get scared. Because, I mean, it's scary. You're in the middle of the wilderness. You have no navigation. You don't know where you are. But, yeah, so I ended up finding, like, you know, making my way through the woods and finding a forest road and following the forest road, you know. And I ended up meeting a forest preserve worker, and he gave me a map of the area. So that's how I got out of that situation. But yeah.
If you want to be you, be you. 'Cause there's a million things to do. You know that there are.
I guess like that's kind of what I learned. Like, it gives you a little perspective on things a little bit, you know, not like freaking out about backtracking, you know, like little things like that, when it's like there are a lot bigger things that could be a lot worse, you know.
And you can make it undo. You see, ah, it's easy. Ah, you only need to know. Well, if you want to sing out, sing out. And if you want to be free, be free. 'Cause there's a million things to be. You know that there are.
So it sounds like there was a lot of little guardian angels along your way.
Yeah, I mean, I could name them off. There's definitely a few. Shortly after the bushwhack, I rolled my ankle and a minor sprain, so I couldn't continue. Some guy on the road picked me up and took me back to the town. So that was one trail angel. We randomly met this guy at a campsite in Olympic National Park. He like invited us to come like hang out with him at his campground, and he just invited us. We hung out with him, talked a while to this guy, and he gave us his number. He said, you know, if you guys need anything, I can help out. So the next day, my sleeping pad popped. So I was sleeping on the cold, hard ground where I wasn't sleeping because it was freezing. We texted him, and he drove from his house, which is, 15 miles. Met him at Trailhead, and he gave me a sleeping pad.
If the stores are all closed, with a word she can get what she came
Also, we decided to cut short in Olympic National Park too. We decided to end the trip because the weather was it was raining every day, and it was very cold and wet and pretty miserable. So we decided to cut the trip short, and he came back again and gave us a ride out of Olympic and into Port Angeles. There's people who they're really into like housing, like PNT hikers. And one of them even was like, she went out of her way to like drive almost a half an hour just to pick us up from the trail, just to drive us back to their place where they cooked us dinner and gave us a room. It feels great, like it's like restores faith in humanity almost a little bit. And it's like people are nice, and people were really nice. So that was one. I mean, there's a lot of them.
makes me wonder. There's a feeling I get when I look to the west, and my spirit is crying for leaving.
From North Cascades National Park, I am standing here on the peak of some mountain. I can't remember what it's called exactly, but yep, on the very tip top. It's a pretty sweet spot. That's where I came from. That's Jack Mountain right there in the Pasayten, which was a few days back. And yesterday I was traveling through this valley here just along the creek, and then this morning I came up this mountain. It's pretty much straight up, right up here, and then I'm kind of camping beyond that ridge just right over there. It's a pretty sweet spot though. There's a big ass glacier right across the valley. It's called Commander Glacier, I believe. There's one right there, right behind me. And if I turn around very carefully here, that is where I'm headed west through the Cascades and towards Olympic, towards the Pacific.
Now that you're home, what does it feel like to have done that and accomplished that?
I didn't actually finish. So, I mean, it wasn't like I crossing the finish line. It was just like this big, it was just slowly, it was more just like slowly I was just, you know, growing and growing. And like at the end, I knew it was time, you know, to end it at the end. Like the weather was just, it was getting to the point where it was just kind of miserable. It was just an adventure. It was a trip. You know, every day I felt like every day I felt more accomplished. You know, just every 20 miles more that I did, I felt that much more accomplished. You got to hike and just enjoy the hike the whole time. I wasn't sure going in if I was gonna finish. I mean, if I was, how much of it I was even gonna do at all. I just was going in like I'll do as much as I want to do, and that's what I did.
Nice.
Your head is humming and it won't go. In case you don't know, the piper's calling you to join him. Dear lady, can you hear the wind blow?
Mama went the other way, buddy.